So we decided to take a trip up to Maine, and this is a very different experience so far already. There's not very many reptiles and amphibians out here, which is what we're normally out for, but we got in. It's a little late, it's rainy, it's kind of cold, so we're just checking out the area, and believe it or not, this is my first wild porcupine. He's just out here. He does not care. If you can see, he keeps kind of turning around to stick his back end towards me, because a lot of times they'll turn their back end to predators when they're threatened, and it's because they have the very spiny quills all over them. And when predators come up behind them, he might be taking off now, but when predators come up behind them, they'll stick their quills into predators' faces. So he's had enough of us, but this is such a cool experience for us. Just a totally different game out here. Hoping we can find something, some other cool things, just like that little porcupine. I know I said we got in late tonight and we got the privilege of seeing that porcupine. I was just checking out the area, and I didn't really expect to do much road cruising or herping or anything tonight, but on our way back, this rather large spotted salamander was out crossing the road. Now, they do normally breed in the spring, which is kind of surprising to see one this large out in the fall. Heavy rains will get them moving, and normally in the fall, a lot of times you find the younger ones that are transforming from the larval stage, and they're coming out of the vernal pools, and they're going to look for their terrestrial sites so they can live on land, and then later when they get bigger they return to the vernal pools. But I just did not expect to see this tonight, especially in September in an area I've never been. It's always awesome to find something so cool like this. Love seeing these guys, but we'll put him down and let him do his thing, because he's obviously on a mission.
Why are you going back that way? You were crossing this way. You're supposed to be going that way, Goofus.
So we only have 2 days out here in Maine, and we're out here in this beautiful forest. We didn't come out here expecting too much, but driving through the forest, I saw this big open patch, a lot of rocks, and the herper in my mind said this is going to be a good spot to try and find some reptiles. So came out here, tried to luck, flipped a couple rocks, and wouldn't you know it, found a ringneck. Now, there's not too many snake species out here in Maine. I don't know the exact numbers. I think it's somewhere around 10. I'm not sure. If you know, you can let me know in the comments. But this is a northern ringneck. It's a cool snake. This one's actually kind of large for its size. They have this beautiful orange belly. Now, these guys, they do release a very pungent odor when you pick them up. They smell pretty bad, but it's always really cool to see something, especially in a state I've never been to. So we're going to keep looking this area and see if we can find anything else. We're out here still checking for snakes where we found that ringneck, and something that I noticed over here behind me, if you can see behind me all these little divots in this hill down here, those are moose tracks. Now, Maine is known for having a lot of moose. I would love to see one. I hope I see one. It's one of the reasons we came out to this forest. But if you can get up here and get close to this, you can see just how big these animals can get. Look at the size of that thing. That has got to be a large animal.
So here is snake number 2 for us on our trip through Maine, and this is a northern red belly snake. So I know Matt had said that we weren't really expecting to see snakes on this trip, so this is really cool that we actually got to see these, because, you know, the herper and us, we always want to see snakes. Now, as we were thinking about it, at first when we flipped that ringneck, it was kind of surprising, but after we were talking about it a little bit, we realized it was actually not surprising that we're seeing especially these 2 species of snakes, because these are known as fossorial snakes, and what that means is they generally live underground. Hopefully, maybe we'll see some other kinds of snakes, but if not, we at least want to see a moose. So hopefully we'll get that for you on tape. And in the meantime, check out this beautiful red belly on this northern red belly snake.
So if you can see in here in this small little branch, there is actually a very small gray tree frog. Now, I didn't expect to see him out in the middle of the day like this. They are primarily a nocturnal species, and we did have that big rain yesterday, so it does kind of make sense. This one is small. They do have a quick metamorphosis state from tadpole to froglet, which is why he's probably out. He's probably metamorphosed very recently, and he's leaving the vernal pools, trying to find his own area. But it's really cool to see these guys. I love these guys. This one's really green. Oh, he hopped. He's very green in color. If we can get a close-up of him, we'll show you, but just really cool to see a tree frog out here.
All right, Matt, you need to stop finding all the herps because we're supposed to be out here finding moose.
I can't help it. I have 2 garter snakes now. So these 2 garter snakes that I found, they're very similar. They are the same species, but garter snakes do come in a very wide variety of colors and patterns. This one here, if you look closely in, has very light greenish scales between these kind of dark rustic brown coloration spots, and the belly is pretty almost a teal green. It's really neat looking. This other one over here is more of a drab brown color. Doesn't have that very vibrant green if you could see them together. Not as colorful. The belly on this one is more of a brown coloration. Really cool to see 2 of these snakes together so you can just see some of the variations in their colors and patterns. Now, these guys, they are actually considered slightly venomous, but for the state of Maine, there are no known venomous snakes that actually live here. So like the pit vipers or rattlesnakes, copperheads, things like that, they don't live in this state. The last recorded true venomous snake was the timber rattlesnake in the 1800s. They have been believed to have been hunted to extinction by early settlers, but it's still cool to see these snakes. They can give you a semi-toxic bite because they do have toxins in their saliva, and you can get a swelling or a rash from it. So if you do get bit by these and you swell up, make sure you clean the wound, seek medical attention if you think it's getting bad, but they are safe to handle for most of the time. They're usually bitey, but these guys aren't, so. But just check that out. That's really cool, the difference in them.
So another herp to check off our list in the state of Maine, this tiny little salamander right here. Now this is an eastern redback salamander. So we've seen these guys a lot at home back in Maryland, but in habitat very similar to this, so we decided to come over here and flip some rocks. I don't want to pick him up, so if you want to come in here and check him out, he was just living under one of these rocks here, and it's a cute, very cute little salamander. So what I have in my hand is an American toad. Now, this is another species that's pretty common for us back in Maryland. However, I don't think I've ever seen one quite with this coloration. Now, they do come in a wide variety of color, and I'm going to have Matt zoom in here in a minute because I just really don't want him to hop.
So, we're driving out the forest. A little upset we didn't get to see a moose. Didn't think we were going to see a moose, and we saw a moose. We didn't get too great footage of him, but if you could see this animal in person, get out there and go look for one, because that animal was so impressive just to see in person. It was taller than our vehicle. That thing was massive. Such a cool animal. It was just trotting down the road.